Heartwarming revelation. Just 1 cup before bed can significantly lower stroke risk in seniors. Henry stood by the kitchen counter, the familiar clank of the kettle breaking the evening silence. Sunlight cast a soft glow over the quaint American suburb where he had woven his life story, a fabric rich with family ties and community connections. But tonight, as he brewed his late wife's cherished herbal tea, a weight pressed down on him. Memories of Lucy flooded his mind. Her laughter mingled with the warmth of the tea, spilling into the corners of their once lively kitchen. A report on the local news had just declared a groundbreaking finding. 1 cup of herbal tea can significantly lower stroke risk in seniors. The headlines raced through town, bringing both hope and anxiety. But to Henry, they felt like a double-edged sword. While he clung to Lucy's memory and the tea's soothing familiarity, he faced the silent challenge of financial hardship. And then there was Amy. She was his estranged daughter, tangled in her own busy life, too far removed from the safety of their once close bond. The tea began to brew, steam curling up like whispers of what was lost. Every evening, Henry ritualistically brewed the tea, believing that somehow it held the magic to mend his fractured family. The city seemed to be on the verge of spring, but in his heart, winter lingered, thick and heavy. 1 sip always brought solace. Lucy's spirit lingered in every drop. Yet he felt the distance grow day by day, a gaping chasm forged by misunderstandings and unspoken fears. Then came the night that shattered his quiet routine. A sudden tightness in his chest, a dizzying swirl of shadows. Henry had collapsed right there in his kitchen. Panic rippled through the neighborhood, a slight stroke scare that sent shockwaves across his fragile world. Within moments, Mrs. Dalton was at his door, her nurturing presence washing over him like a balm. The retired nurse was a lifeline, recounting tales of resilience and sharing the hidden gems of herbal remedies. "Henry," she said gently, her eyes glistening with understanding, "this tea does more than soothe, it heals. Let's gather the neighbors, share recipes, stories, show them the love that binds us." Henry felt a spark reignite in his heart, a flicker of hope. But as news of the health report circulated, the stakes shifted. Amy saw only danger in her father's newfound vulnerability. "Dad, you need to move in with us. We can take care of you," she pressed. But to Henry, the notion felt suffocating, demanding the independence he had so fiercely upheld. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the evening approached, the neighborhood buzzed with excitement and anxiety. The sense of community was palpable, conversations drifting on the spring air, but the question lingered. Could Henry navigate the labyrinth of family ties while maintaining his hard-won autonomy? Just as Mrs. Dalton shared her own heartwarming tale of sacrifice, the fire alarm blared to life, sending chaos erupting through the gathering. Hearts raced, confusion washed over the crowd. Amidst the uncertainty, Henry's gaze locked onto Amy's. Would this chaotic moment force them to confront their differences or lead them to drift further apart? As the smoke swirled and sirens blared, one thing was sure: a storm was brewing, and the thunder of unresolved emotions loomed large. As the fire alarm screeched louder, confusion painted the faces around Henry. The air thickened with anxiety, and the normally warm glow of the evening dimmed under the weight of uncertainty. People scattered, mothers clutched their children, and neighbors shouted as they rushed to ensure everyone was safe. Henry's heart raced, but he stood rooted to his spot, eyes locked on Amy, who had turned to face him. The chaos blurred around them, a frantic backdrop to the tension building in their gaze. Her face, usually set in lines of worry, was now a canvas of fear and frustration. He saw everything they hadn't said in years radiating from her expression. "Dad, we need to get out," she urged, her voice strained yet laced with urgency. In that moment, a wave of protective instinct surged within Henry. "I'm fine, Amy, just—" His voice trailed off. How could he explain that the idea of leaving his home filled him with as much panic as the blaring alarm? The firefighters arrived, their bright hats bobbing through the swarm, commanding voices cutting through the disarray. Mrs. Dalton's calm presence was a tether in the storm. "Everyone stay together, it's just a false alarm." But her reassurances felt like a flimsy shield against the tempest brewing in Henry's heart. "I'll handle this," he said quietly, stepping towards the kitchen. He needed to breathe, needed to find his footing in a world spinning out of control. The scent of burnt toast lingered in the air, a reminder of how quickly things could go wrong. As he surveyed the room, the kettle on the stove, half filled with tea, Lucy's favorite mug still sitting on the counter, he felt tears prick at his eyes. Henry turned back to Amy, who was now only a few steps away. There was an intensity in her gaze that he hadn't seen in ages. "You can't keep shutting us out, Dad, not after everything that's happened. You need help." "Help?" The word tasted bitter on his tongue. "I don't need to be taken care of." "It's not about that," she shot back, the tension peaking. "You're not invincible. You had a stroke scare. Don't you see? This is serious." The sharpness in her voice cut through him like a knife. She was right, yet Henry's heart rebelled against the notion of relinquishing his independence. He saw Lucy reflected in Amy's urgency, her spirit woven into their confrontation. As Amy's breath came in anxious hitches, a realization began to unfurl inside him. This wasn't just about his health, this was about their bond, the one connection he desperately wanted to mend. "I just don't want to lose what's left of me," he whispered, the fight slipping away. Silence enveloped them, heavy moments stretching into eternity. The alarm faded into the background, leaving only the two of them standing on the edge of a chasm, unsure of how to bridge it. In that moment, the fire chief emerged, waving them toward the door as all clear was given. But Henry felt something shift within. Could this chaos be the catalyst for rebuilding rather than more destruction? "Might be time for a change, huh?" he said softly, not entirely convinced but willing to entertain the thought. Amy stared at him, searching his face for hints of the father she once knew, a flicker of hope awakening in her eyes. "Let's talk, not just about moving in, but about us." As they stepped outside into the cool night air, the weight of the evening settled around them, leaving an opening for conversation, for healing. But now waves of uncertainty surged beneath the surface. How deep ran the fissures of their fractured relationship? What once felt like an insurmountable divide now seemed a path waiting to be charted. A new direction was taking shape before them, but it was still uncertain. Would this truly be the moment that shifted everything? As the last of the crowd began to disperse, the questions lingered in the air like the last remnants of smoke. And maybe, just maybe, change was on the horizon. But was it the change they both needed? Outside, the world felt different. The chaos of the fire alarm melted into the night air, replaced by the sound of distant sirens and whispering neighbors. Stars glimmered overhead, witnesses to the moment that Henry and Amy stood together, their hearts beating in time with an unspoken hope. As they took hesitant steps away from their home, he sensed the weight of her presence beside him. "Are you okay?" Amy asked, her voice gentle but probing. Henry nodded, though doubt shadowed his heart. "I guess I'm just processing everything." He could see her watching him, perhaps waiting for something more, something deeper to emerge. "About moving in," she started slowly, careful with her words. "It doesn't just mean physically being with me. It's about being there, with your family again. Letting us in." The thought sent a flutter of anxiety through him. Was he ready to bear his vulnerabilities? The home he had built with Lucy had contained memories, love, and laughter wrapped around their lives. Henry had always felt it was a fortress, and now the idea of a new chapter felt daunting, like a castle crumbling in a storm. "I just don't know if I can," he admitted suddenly, the truth coming out raw and unfiltered. "Why not?" she pressed softly. The question hung between them like a drifting balloon, floating into the night sky. Henry exhaled heavily, the weight of memories cascading back. "I'm afraid of losing myself, losing everything I built." "You won't lose anything by letting us help you." Amy reached out, her warm hand wrapping around his. "But shutting us out will only create more distance." Henry squeezed her hand, desperately trying to summon a smile. "I know." They walked in silence for a moment, the stars twinkling down like guardians. It felt nice, this connection, yet the chill of the cool night air wrapped around them like a blanket of fear. As they approached the edge of their street, Henry turned to face her. "What if I need time, to think, to figure this out?" "Then take that time," she replied, sincerity woven into her words. "But don't take too long. You're not alone anymore, Dad." The vulnerability in her voice made his heart ache. "I need my dad, the one who used to laugh mid-dinner and sing our favorite songs, the one who would always be there." A lump formed in Henry's throat. He hadn't realized how much he missed the simple things, the laughter, the warmth of family dinners, the feeling of being truly known. "Let's start with small steps," he finally said, the decision feeling monumental. "I can try. Maybe I can cook dinner one night a week again. That might be a good start." Amy's eyes lit up, her heartwarming smile banishing some of the night's lingering shadows. "I would love that, and I'll be there to help, or just to enjoy." Henry chuckled softly as they headed into the comfort of familiar laughter. It felt like a fragile seed of hope sprouting between them, tentative but undeniable. But as they stepped inside, and the warmth of the home wrapped around them, Henry realized that the real work lay ahead. The past wasn't just something to be brushed aside. It carried weight, some memories still heavy, bruised by the years of distance. Just then, Amy turned to him, her expression earnest. "Dad, things might change, but it doesn't mean we have to lose what was. We're building something new together, and I promise I'm here for it." He nodded, feeling the truth pulse through them like a heartbeat. And just like that, a flicker of courage reignited in his chest. What if this was the beginning, a time for healing, for rediscovering the father he wanted to be, the family they could become? As Henry leaned against the doorframe, watching Amy set about making tea, a new question began to unfold. What would it take to truly bridge the gap? Could he let the walls down enough to embrace all the messiness of relationships, all the love still hidden in the cracks? The teapot whistled, cutting through Henry's swirling thoughts like a sharp gust of wind. He turned to see Amy carefully pouring the steaming water into 2 chipped mugs, each one a little friendlier than the last. The hum of the daily routines began to settle around them. "Peach ginger tea," she said, stirring in honey with a playful grin. "Your favorite." He felt warmth bloom in his chest, the familiar taste wrapping around old memories. It brought back images of past dinners, laughter pealing from the kitchen, while the clatter of plates filled the air like music. But also an ache, the reminders of what once was and what had been lost. "Thanks," he said, accepting the mug with slightly trembling hands. Taking a deep breath, Henry let the steam fill his lungs. It had been so long since he'd participated in something so simple. Was it this easy to reconnect? Could warmth be rekindled so effortlessly between them? As they settled onto the creaky old couch, Amy's head tilted slightly. "You look lost." "I guess I am," he whispered, the honesty pouring out before he could second-guess himself. "It's just, everything feels fragile." Amy nodded, her expression softening. "It is, but fragile doesn't mean it's doomed, Dad. Sometimes fragility is what makes things beautiful. It means they need love and care. We can help each other." A small smile touched the corners of Henry's mouth. "You sound wise beyond your years." "Hanging out with you has its perks," she teased, her laughter a bell of hope in the dim light of the living room. "But I don't want you to have to carry my burdens," Henry replied, voice thick. "I don't want to bring all this heaviness into this new phase." "Oh, Dad," she said earnestly, "we're a family. Families share everything, the good and the bad. It's okay to lean on me sometimes." The sincerity in her eyes ignited something deep within him. The idea of leaning on her felt both liberating and terrifying. Could he really allow his daughter to see every side of him, the broken pieces alongside the laughter? Henry took a sip of his tea, warmth trickling through him. "All right, I'll try, but it's going to take time for me to really open up." "That's okay," Amy smiled. "We'll work on it together. One step at a time, remember?" As they shared stories from the past, laughter filled the room, and for a moment the air buzzed with a shared history. Memories floated between them, of silly dance moves, family vacations, and every little mishap that brought them closer rather than tearing them apart. But then the mood shifted. As night deepened outside, shadows curled around them. Henry pulled in a breath, feeling the weight of unspoken words pressing against his chest. He thought about Lucy and the colossal grief that still lay in wait, ever present like an unwelcome visitor. "Can I ask you something?" he said hesitantly, catching Amy's gaze. "Of course." "What if I told you that sometimes it feels like I'm still fighting to keep her memory alive? Like, in a way, I'm afraid to move on." The moment stretched, quiet as they absorbed the weight of each other's thoughts. Amy took a slow sip of her tea, her eyes soft as they met his. "You don't have to choose between us, Dad. She's a part of you, just like I want to be a part of your life now." Henry stared into his mug, heart aching. She spoke like a balm to his wounds, but the wound felt deeper than just sadness. "What does moving forward even look like?" he murmured, feeling lost again. As they pondered the question together, the flickering candlelight cast dancing shadows across the room, hinting at all the possibilities that lay ahead. Henry realized that this journey wouldn't just be for him and Amy. It would be for Lucy, too. Did he have the strength to let her spirit guide him into this new chapter? And as the silence enveloped them, he wondered if he was truly ready to embrace the love waiting just around the corner. The stillness hung between them like a fragile thread, each breath a reminder of what lingered unspoken. Henry looked at Amy, her bright eyes filled with a mix of understanding and encouragement, and he felt a flicker of hope. "What if we did something in her memory?" he suggested, his voice trembling slightly. "Something like a tradition or a small celebration, something that keeps her spirit alive but also helps us to move forward." Amy's eyes widened with surprise, then softened. "I think that sounds beautiful, Dad. What did you have in mind?" He let the question wash over him. It wasn't just a way to honor Lucy, it was a step towards healing. Maybe every year on her birthday we could do something she loved, make her favorite cake, watch her favorite movie, maybe even plant a tree in the backyard. "Or we could start a little garden," Amy added enthusiastically, a smile spreading across her face. "You know, one with bright flowers and herbs. She always loved to cook with fresh ingredients." The room felt brighter, the shadows shrinking back as Henry envisioned it cascading with color, much like their memories of Lucy. "I like that, a garden full of life. It's a way to have her with us, in a happy way. As the idea blossomed, Henry felt a weight lift. Traditional moments like this could allow them to cherish Lucy's memory without being buried by grief. "I think she would have loved that," Amy said, a gentle smile playing at her lips. "And maybe we can invite some friends over when we do it. Share stories about her. Laugh together. That way it becomes a joyous occasion." The thought wrapped around Henry's heart, filling it with warmth. He had been so consumed by his own sorrow that he often forgot that bringing people together could also be a source of healing. "Then we need to plan this," he said, excitement bubbling in his chest. "It doesn't have to be perfect, just a little something to keep her spirit alive." As ideas flowed, they spoke animatedly about colors for the garden, types of flowers, and recipes for the cake. The laughter returned, peppered with nostalgia and joy. It was a reminder of how life could bloom anew even in the shadow of loss. "What about each Saturday? We could work together on the garden," Amy suggested, her excitement contagious. "Every Saturday sounds great," he agreed, feeling a sense of normalcy begin to settle in his heart. But just as they found a rhythm, a sudden pang of reality hit him. What if their efforts fell short? What if the garden didn't grow? Or what if Henry couldn't keep up with the emotions that came along with it? "What if I can't keep it up?" he confessed, tracing the rim of his mug anxiously. "What if it becomes too hard?" Amy leaned closer, her brow furrowing with concern. "You can do this. I'll be there with you. We'll support each other, just like we talked about. It's okay to feel scared, but we can't let fear hold us back, right?" The strength in her words struck a chord within him. It reminded him that this path was not just one he would walk alone. They were in it together. With a deep breath, he nodded, feeling the weight of the world ease a little. "You're right, Amy. We'll tackle it together." Just then, the clock on the wall chimed softly, reminding them that the night was drawing to a close. "Let's write down our ideas," Amy suggested, jumping up to gather some paper and a pencil. "We need to make a plan." As she scribbled furiously, Henry watched her, a rush of gratitude filling him. This was more than just a garden. It was a bridge connecting them to their past and providing a path toward the future. And as he leaned back into the couch, the weight on his chest felt lighter, hope fluttering like the wings of a butterfly ready to take flight. But just as joy filled the room, a sudden ring on his phone pulled him from his thoughts. He glanced at the screen, and his heart sank when he saw an unknown number flashing back at him. What might this call bring? Could it be a sign of trouble? As uncertainty settled back in, Henry felt the warmth of the tea still in his hand, grounding him as he braced himself for what lay ahead. The ringing continued, sharp and insistent, slicing through the bubble of warmth they had created. Henry's heart raced, and for a moment he was paralyzed by the fear of what the unknown caller might want. He took a deep breath, trying to steady his nerves, and lifted the phone to his ear. "Hello?" His voice came out steadier than he felt. "Mr. Collins?" a voice on the other end said. It was authoritative, but kind. "This is Dr. Matthews from the hospital." Henry's stomach dropped. He barely registered Amy's curious gaze as he clutched the phone tighter, his knuckles whitening. "Is everything all right?" he managed to stutter out, urgency flooding his words. "We're calling to discuss Lucy's case, Mr. Collins. I think we may have some important information." The world blurred around him. He wasn't sure he wanted to hear about this anymore. The possibility of revisiting old wounds, of feeling that familiar ache of loss, was terrifying. Yet there was a flicker of hope nestled among the shadows. Maybe, just maybe, there was something that could help him understand her better, something he might have missed before. "Okay," he whispered, urging the words to untangle from the tightness in his throat. A few months ago, we found something in her medical records that may explain some of the struggles she faced, Dr. Matthews continued. I'd like to discuss it further in person. Would you be able to come in? Henry's pulse hammered in his ears. Did he really want to do this? A sudden twist of fear shot through him. What if it was bad news? What if it opened wounds that were still raw? She was sick, he murmured, more to himself than the doctor. Sicker than we knew. Yes, it seems so, but I believe understanding her condition better can offer some closure for you and your family. If you can come to the hospital— Tomorrow. I can come in tomorrow, Henry interrupted, determination springing forth from somewhere deep inside him. He felt a surge of energy flow back in, a fight igniting in his chest. He needed answers. He had come too far to retreat now. Excellent. I'll arrange for a time that works for you, Dr. Matthews replied, sounding pleased. And remind you, this doesn't have to be overwhelming. You're not alone. We'll support you. Thank you, was all he managed before the call ended. Henry dropped the phone onto the couch, feeling the weight of the room settle back around him. He looked at Amy, whose eyes were bright with concern. What did they say? She asked, leaning forward. It's about Mom, he replied, his heart racing still. They think there's more she went through than we knew. Henry swallowed hard, a mixture of apprehension and an unexpected thrill coursing through him. The opportunity to really understand Lucy could either heal them or shatter the remnants of peace they had just begun to build. Amy's hand found his arm. What do we do? Should we go together? He hesitated, caught between the urge to protect her from this pain and the need for her to be there by his side. I think it would be good for both of us. But Amy, it could get emotional. Are you ready? More than ready, Dad. Her voice was steady, embodying strength that felt contagious. We're in this together, right? He nodded, a small smile breaking through his anxiety. This was a moment that could lead to discovery, and facing it together felt like a promise, the kind of promise Lucy would have wanted for them. Let's get some rest tonight, he said softly, the feeling of impending challenges thick in the air. We'll figure it out together. As they turned off the lights and settled in for the night, the shadows shifted, whispering of revelations yet to come. Each breath felt purposeful, heavy with hope and uncertainty. But deep down, amid the burgeoning hope, Henry wondered, what if understanding the truth about Lucy only deepened their sadness? What if they uncovered things better left hidden? Fear mingled with resolve as he drifted into an uneasy sleep, ready to face the unknown, their journey spanning toward a horizon yet unseen. What would tomorrow reveal? The next morning dawned with a quiet intensity that made Henry's skin prickle. Sunlight streamed in through the window, throwing streaks of gold across the living room floor. He felt the warmth, but it was swallowed by a knot of anxiety knotting tighter in his chest. Today wasn't just another day, it was a reckoning. He glanced at Amy, still bundled in her blanket, her dark hair spilling over the pillow. Peaceful. For her, it was just another Saturday. Henry wished he could join her in that blissful ignorance, where thoughts of the past didn't cast long shadows over the present. Amy, he called softly, not wanting to startle her. It's time to wake up. She stirred, blinked sleepy eyes open, and then gave him a sleepy smile that felt like a beacon of hope. You went to bed too late again, didn't you? She teased, sitting up slowly. Yeah, well, you'd think I'd have learned by now, he chuckled, but his heart wasn't in it. He was in full dad mode, trying to lift the mood ahead of the inevitable emotional storm waiting for them. Are you ready for today? She asked, her brow creasing slightly as she pulled the blanket tighter around her shoulders. Ready as I'll ever be, he replied, doing his best to mask the fear beneath his words. After a quick breakfast, the two got into the car, the tension between them building with each passing moment. Henry kept glancing at Amy, who fiddled with her bracelet, her usual bright enthusiasm muted. The drive felt like a descent into uncertainty, each mile a countdown to answers that could change everything and nothing at all. Arriving at the hospital stirred a whirlwind of emotions within him. The concrete structure loomed large and unwelcome, like a reminder of all the pain they had faced. Together they stepped inside, and the setting changed from the mundane world outside to sterile white walls and the unmistakable smell of antiseptic. Dr. Matthews greeted them warmly in a small office, his kind eyes scanning both their faces. "Thank you for coming in," he said, gesturing them to sit. "I appreciate this is difficult." The heaviness in the air felt suffocating. Henry shared a glance with Amy, who nodded at him as if to say, "We've got this." This was an unfamiliar bond they were forging, one melded by grief and a desperate need for understanding. "Mr. Collins," Dr. Matthews began, his voice steady, "as I mentioned, we discovered some significant details about your mother's condition that shed light on her behavior leading up to her illness. I think it's important to note that these details were previously overlooked." Henry's mind raced, surging between hope and dread. "What do you mean?" The doctor opened a folder, scanning its contents before looking back at them. Lucy was diagnosed with a rare condition, one that often goes undetected. It explains her mood swings, the time she was distant, things you might have chalked up to stress or fatigue. Henry felt each word hit him hard, a weight he hadn't anticipated. "What kind of condition?" he asked, trying to wrap his mind around this. "It's a neurological disorder. Symptoms manifest in emotional changes, cognitive difficulties. It can be quite taxing and often goes unnoticed, even by family members. Your mother probably felt trapped by it, isolated in her struggles." Amy's fingers were now entwined with Henry's, squeezing tight. She was feeling it too, the pull of realization weaving through them like a thread. "How are we supposed to process this?" Henry said, anger creeping in. "You're telling us she suffered and we had no idea?" "Finding answers can often feel overwhelming," Dr. Matthews responded, his expression sympathetic. "But understanding can also be a path to healing. She wasn't alone in this. It wasn't your fault." The room swirled with emotions: anger, sadness, confusion. Henry felt tears prick at the corners of his eyes. He had entered this place wanting clarity, but the truth was a tangled web that left him feeling more lost than before. And for the first time that day, Amy spoke, her voice trembling. "So, what does this mean for us?" Dr. Matthews took a deep breath, sensing the weight of those words. "It means you have a chance to create a narrative for her with more understanding. You can honor what she went through. And maybe, just maybe, you can find peace in knowing." And just like that, hope cracked through the surface of their grief. Yet a new wave of uncertainty washed over Henry. What would it mean for them moving forward? Would they be able to connect with Lucy's memory in a way that felt genuine and not simply draped in sorrow? As they left the office, hand in hand, Henry whispered a heavy question of his own to himself. Had they now uncovered a wound too deep to heal? And as much as he wanted to believe in the power of understanding, he knew they were just beginning. The air was charged as Henry and Amy walked out of the hospital. The sun shone brightly outside, a stark contrast to the heaviness that lingered in their hearts. Each step felt weighted, the words spoken in the doctor's office echoing in Henry's mind. Understanding. Healing. Could they really find those elusive concepts in the ruins of what they thought they knew? "Do you want to grab a coffee or something?" Henry asked, breaking the emotional silence that wrapped around them like a shroud. It was a simple suggestion, but he hoped it could create a bit of normalcy amid the chaos. Amy nodded, her eyes still clouded with thought. "Yeah, that sounds good." They found a cozy little cafe nearby, a small place with warm wooden tables and the scent of fresh coffee wafting through the air. As they settled into a booth, Henry watched Amy absent-mindedly stir her drink, a frown etching deeper on her brow. "Hey," he said gently, reaching out to touch her hand. "What's on your mind?" "It's just, I can't stop thinking about Grandma," she admitted softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "She was always so full of life. I think about all those times I thought she was just being, well, herself, alone. I just wish I recognized the signs sooner." A lump formed in Henry's throat. "I know," he replied, squeezing her hand. "It feels so unfair, like we missed something important." They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of their shared grief hanging heavily in the air. Henry could see the glistening tears threatening to spill from Amy's eyes, and his own heart ached for her. They had been through so much, two soldiers on the same battlefield filled with echoes of what-ifs. "I want to remember her the way she was," Amy said suddenly, pulling her hand away to wipe her tears. "Not just as someone with a condition, but as my fun, adventurous grandma who always baked cookies and told the best stories." "Of course," Henry replied, feeling a flicker of resolve kindling in his chest. "And we can do that. This doesn't define her. It will just help us paint a fuller picture of who she was." The barista came over, breaking the moment of reflection with a jovial smile and fresh mugs in hand. As he served them, Henry felt a renewed sense of purpose solidify within him. They could turn this painful understanding into something meaningful. Once the barista left, Amy looked up at him, her eyes searching. "So, what do we do now?" "I think we honor her, share her stories, even the ones we might have buried," Henry suggested. "Let's start with what we loved about her. Make a list. Maybe later we can turn it into a scrapbook." Amy's eyes brightened for the first time that day. "That sounds nice. A way to keep her memory alive." "Exactly! We can call it Grandma's Adventures or something." Their conversation flowed, laughter slowly rising from the ashes of sorrow. With each shared memory, they both felt the shadows of guilt begin to lift, replaced by a burgeoning light of gratitude for the moments they had together. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm glow through the cafe windows, Henry held Amy's gaze. There was hope in their shared vision, but the nagging question from before lingered in the depths of his mind. Would it truly bring them peace? Leaving the cafe, a sudden gust of wind sent chills down his spine, and he shivered at the idea that the past might still haunt them. What stories would they uncover? Would they gain further insight into Lucy's struggles, or would it lead them down an even darker path, filled with more questions than answers? Together, they embarked on this new chapter, one filled with vulnerability, potential healing, and the possibility that understanding might just be a beginning, not an end. But deep within Henry's heart, uncertainty simmered. Was the journey of remembrance just a step into the light, or a deep dive into a well of uncharted darkness? The next few days flowed like a gentle stream, meandering through memories both sweet and painful. Henry and Amy pored over old photo albums, tape recorder in hand, capturing the stories each picture told. Laughter punctuated their tears as they revisited joy-filled moments from childhood, piecing together bits of the tapestry that was Grandma Lucy. Each laugh was like a small victory, a candle flickering brightly against the dark thoughts that threatened to invade their newfound light. One afternoon, as the sun filtered softly through the window, they stumbled upon a poem Grandma had written when Amy was just a little girl. The words danced across the page, rich with warmth and love. "Look at this!" Amy exclaimed, her eyes widening. "I completely forgot about this." Henry leaned closer as she read it aloud, her voice filled with growing excitement. The poem spoke of adventure, family, and the joy of simple moments spent together. "This is so beautiful. It captures her spirit perfectly," he said, his voice warm with admiration. "We need to include it in the scrapbook." Fired up by the discovery, they made plans to strengthen their connection with Grandma through this project. They sought out family members, reached out to distant cousins, hoping to gather even more stories. They realized that every voice added depth to the narrative they were building, a solid reminder that Lucy's impact stretched beyond just their immediate family. One evening, they decided to visit Grandma's favorite park, a vibrant spot filled with blooming flowers and fluttering butterflies. It was where she'd spent countless afternoons feeding the ducks and sharing ice cream with her grandkids. Henry could still remember the bright pink sundae she'd serve him, plopped high with whipped cream. As they wandered the familiar paths, the weight of sadness felt less suffocating. Instead, it morphed into a bittersweet nostalgia. Amy knelt to pick a wildflower, holding it close to her heart. "Sometimes I can almost hear her laughing in this place," she murmured. Henry watched her, realizing the simplicity of the moment was what they needed. "It's okay to miss her," he said, stepping closer, "but it's also okay to celebrate her." Amy smiled softly, her fingers brushing against the delicate petals. "It's like she's still with us in some way. I think she'd want us to be happy and remember the good times." As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue across the park, Henry felt a swell of pride for the family they were building, their shared memories stronger than any sadness. He could see that they were moving forward, blending sorrow with joy. But deep down, questions lingered. Despite the progress, Henry couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the brink of something deeper. He felt as if each memory they recalled chipped away at the surface, revealing layers yet untouched, hidden pains that needed to come to light. Later that night, as they sifted through old letters, Amy found something curious, a letter addressed to her from Grandma, left unopened. "What's this doing here?" she wondered aloud. Henry leaned in, curiosity piqued. "Open it. Maybe it's something important." Amy hesitated, her fingers toying with the edge of the envelope. "What if it's sad?" "It might be, but it could also be something beautiful," Henry urged gently. "You won't know unless you read it." With a nod, Amy took a deep breath, breaking the seal. As she unfolded the paper, anticipation crackled in the air. A moment stretched, heavy with unknown possibilities. What wisdom lay within those words? What secrets would the letter unveil? Henry caught her eye, both of them aware that whatever came next would shape their understanding of not just Lucy, but themselves as well. Would this be the healing they sought, or a deeper puzzle to unravel? As Amy scanned the letter, her brow furrowed. Henry leaned closer, trying to glimpse the words that had remained hidden for so long. Curiosity bubbled inside him, mixed with an unsettling apprehension. What could Lucy have written to Amy, left untouched until now? "Dear Amy," she began aloud, her voice wavering slightly. "If you're reading this, then it means I'm no longer with you. I've struggled to find the right words for a long time, afraid that if I spoke them, it would change our beautiful moments into something heavy. But I realize now that love is strongest when shared, even through pain." Henry felt his chest tighten. Lucy was always the pillar of strength, the one who carried joy amidst storms. To hear her acknowledge her struggles felt like being wrapped in an emotional embrace, both comforting and heartbreaking. "It's important that you know, I love you with every beat of my heart." Life can be complicated, and sometimes it feels like the shadows close in around us. There were days when I found it hard to rise, and days when I felt lost in the depths of my own mind. I wish I had the courage to share these moments with you sooner. It's not weakness, my dear, but a part of being human. Tears streamed down Amy's cheeks, and Henry was unable to stop his own from welling up. Each word felt like Lucy reaching out to bridge the distance they had felt, a connection they had longed for but had never quite grasped. "I want you to live boldly," Amy read on, her voice stronger now despite the tears. Embrace your passions, fight for your dreams, but also embrace your feelings. Talk to those you love. Don't let pain silence your laughter, because laughter will always be the brightest light in the darkest days. Remember, you are never truly alone. Lean on your loved ones, let them hold you up, just as you will hold them. Henry was mesmerized, transformed by Lucy's wisdom. Her bravery shone through every written word, a gift of love meant for Amy, yet it resonated deeply within him too. As they processed the weight of the letter, Amy finally looked up at him, her blue eyes shimmering with vulnerability. "Dad, she was scared of how we might see her, but she loved us fiercely." Henry nodded, feeling the truth sink deep. Over the years, they'd focused on Lucy's health challenges, the conditions that had altered their perception of the bright, shining woman she had been. But now they saw her through a clearer lens, one that revealed the complexities of her spirit. "Lucy fought so hard," he said softly, emotions churning within him, "and she made us who we are." "Yes," Amy said, wiping away her tears. "She built a family filled with love, laughter, and stories that we can carry forward." Their connection deepened in silence, a shared understanding binding them tightly against the backdrop of grief. They had honored her struggles, but now they could embrace all of Lucy, the mother, the grandmother, the woman who filled their lives with joy. "Let's put this letter in our scrapbook," Amy suggested, a smile breaking through her earlier tears. "It's the strongest reminder that she's with us." For the first time since they began this journey, hope blossomed inside Henry's heart. The path forward no longer felt like an uncertain darkness hovering over them. It now shimmered with the promise of love, learning, and togetherness. They continued to piece together Lucy's story, crafting a colorful world in their scrapbook, weaving tales that would ebb and flow among laughter and tears. The garden idea morphed into something larger than they had imagined, a true tribute to Lucy that extended beyond their little family into the greater community, bringing people together to celebrate love and connection. Every Saturday, the garden transformed into a sanctuary of growth and nurturing. Friends and family arrived, sharing memories and laughter, each bloom a reminder of Lucy's vibrant spirit. Each petal whispered of the power of healing, a continuation of Lucy's legacy that flourished in the light of their combined love. And as Henry planted seeds alongside Amy, he felt Lucy's laughter dancing on the breeze, sprinkling warmth on their hearts. Whatever shadows remained were mere reminders of how far they had come, an acknowledgement that to be truly open is to embrace every facet of love, light, and even shadows. Lucy had left them with more than memories. She gifted them a bond that could withstand time. In that moment, both Henry and Amy understood. Healing was a journey they would walk together, fueled by love, laughter, and a garden blooming brightly, rooted in both the past and an inspired future. As they stood amidst the new growth, Henry's heart brimmed with gratitude. The cycle of life had begun anew, and they were together, ready to embrace it all. This was the moment they had awaited, a defining point that transformed pain into strength, fear into courage, and loss into a legacy. Their hands clasped, father and daughter stood united, ready to face the next chapter with open hearts, together. Now is the time for you to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that could change your perspective. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and let us know you care about these heartwarming transformations. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this emotional ending. You need to share with us. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible journey of healing and love unfold. You need to show your support. It makes a difference. Don't wait, not even one more second to share.